Hey guys, it's John, ReelBlue Custom Rods. Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, we're going to do a second part of this orange rod build. And we've already added the CFX carbon handle. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how I like to install the reel seat. So the first thing I did is, you can see I have a blue mark here. I've dry fitted the reel seat, which is an American Tackle aluminum reel seat. It's very similar to an Alps aluminum reel seat, but I'll show that to you here in a second. But what I did first is I went down and kind of dry fitted and put a mark on where the end of that reel seat was. Now what I want to do, because this is a custom painted blank, all right, this is not an orange, this is not a manufactured orange blank. It's just kind of a, black or high gloss blank. Had it custom painted by Backbone Custom Rods. They do great freaking work. But what I want to do now is, before I build my arbors and add the reel seat, like I did with the carbon handle, I just want to take a green pad and knock the gloss, and I can go a little bit past that Sharpie mark, because of course I'm going to have my foregrip on there. So I just went just past that, and all I'm doing is knocking the gloss off of this in an effort to make sure that I have a good adhesion when I put my rod bond or pro paste or whatever I'm putting on there. I just want to make sure I have good adhesion to that, so you can see the difference. Glossy blank, and then versus where I just knocked the gloss off. I haven't gotten into the color of the paint. I haven't scratched the orange paint. Again, I'm just knocking the gloss off to make sure that my rod bond or pro paste is going to adhere really well. The second thing that I want to do is I want to take this reel seat and I want to run the green pad through the inside. And why I like to do that is just make sure I just kind of go in there, make sure there's no grease on the inside, and just kind of rough up the inside of that. And then I can come back with a shop towel and run that through. Again, I'm going to do it again on this side here. And I'm just spinning that around. And just making sure that I don't have anything like grease or anything on the inside, and that I've scuffed it up just a little bit. Again, this is all in an attempt to make sure that I've got a really good bond with my adhesive and the components of the rod, right? What I do not need at any stage, I do not need a rod failure, or I do not need my customer, if you will, to have a rod failure. So the next part is building my arbors. Now, the trick to building an arbor for a reel seat is that sometimes less is more, right? And what I mean by less than more is, the idea here is I don't need to have 15 arbors for this reel seat. Some people may think you do. I do not think you do at all. And I would tell you, I think the majority of us in the industry would tell you that you do not. The intent here is I need to build arbors, right, to create or take up the space between the difference of the diameter of the blank and the inside diameter of the reel seat. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to build a bunch of arbors that get in the way of maximizing the contact between the two components, the blank and the reel seat. What does that all mean? Well, it just means depending on the size of the tape that you could use to build your arbors, maybe you only need 2 arbors, or maybe you only need 3 or 4, just depending on the diameter of the tape, right? I'm gonna use this thicker tape, so I'm only gonna have 2 arbors on here because I wanna make sure that I have maximum contact between my rod bond, the reel seat, and the blank. So again, I'm going to use this wider tape, and I like to start at the bottom. The reason why I like to start at the bottom is when I slide the reel seat on, I want to make sure that I have a good fit between the reel seat and the arbor. If I start here and do that here, sometimes I feel like maybe I'm not making sure that I get a good seat at the end. So I always build the arbors from the bottom up, or from the handle towards the tip of the rod. So I'm just gonna get this started, put a piece of tape on here, and this is a pretty large diameter blank, so it's not gonna take a lot of tape for the arbor. And we're only putting 2 on there. So I'm going to stop right there because it's not going to take a lot. All right, as I said, so I actually have a little more than what I need. So if you have more tape than what you actually need for the arbor, just back it off. And I just go a little bit at a time. To see where I'm at, and slide it back on. That's a little too tight. I want it snug, but I don't want it super snug. Like I don't want to have to, get a couple reps in at the gym to make sure I get it on. So I'll just take a little more off. All right, there we go. So that's nice and snug. Yep. And then I'll just slide that off. And then all I'm going to do is go to my second arbor. Now, when I'm doing the second one, so I know that this mark that I made with the Sharpie is going to be the top of the reel seat. I don't like to have the arbor right at the top like that. The reason why I don't is when I add the foregrip to this build and I slide that down, I want it to push some paste to the inside of the reel seat a little bit. So what I like to do is just back off a little bit. Maybe just a tiny bit more. I like to just back off a little bit, and then that way when I put that paste on there, that'll get pushed down. And then I'll just come back here with this tape. Actually, you know what? We're going to just take that one off, that piece off. All right, I'm probably there, but let's check that out. Nope, not enough. All right, put that tape back there. All right, that's a good fit. Yep, that's a good fit. All right, so now what I'll do is, now that I know I got a good fit on the two arbors, one, I need to make sure, you know, and there's some different opinions on the spine of the blank, right? But what I want to make sure I've done is if I am a person that likes to use the spine of the blank, which I am, because I feel like when you're building a rod and you're taking into consideration the spine of the blank, you're maximizing the parabolic bend of the rod and helping the angler when they're fighting fish. That's my personal opinion. There's some people that probably disagree with me, but that's my point, my belief. So before I add the reel seat, I just want to make sure that I've marked, and you can see that I've done that here, right here, this white mark. So I know that that is either the bottom or the top of the blank of the spine, if you will, if that's what you want to do. So I've taken that in consideration. So I know where that spine is at when I add this reel seat. So my next step now would be to mix my paste, add it on here, apply it on here, and then slide the reel seat on all the way down to the bottom of the handle. And then I'll have my reel seat on, make sure it's aligned with the spine of the blank, and then I've added the reel seat. And then the next thing after that would be the foregrip. So I hope this helps. I hope this was informative. Again, orange blank, blue color reel seat, excuse me. Let me know in the comments block if you know what theme this rod is. I'm going to be asking you guys out on every episode I do on this build until it becomes too obvious what it is. But if you think you know what the theme of this rod is, and I'll say sports. So if you think you know what the theme of this rod is, go ahead and leave a comment down in the comments below. Love to hear your thoughts. And also, if you got any questions about the reel seat installation or my opinion on it, feel free to leave a comment below. And make sure you guys watch this video here. Until next time, guys, take care. Bye.